Hey guys, what's up? Before I start this, I have to get this out of the way because I'm a bit late to the proceedings here. Late video and all that. Been busy. Stuff. Trying to survive, really. But anyway, fairly recently, Scholar Grimm had gotten into an accident. Um, More specifically, he was hit by a car while riding a bike. Some of you guys had asked if I had known about that. I'm sure you guys already know about this. Most of you guys know about this, but he was hit by a car while trying to bike to the gym. He was hurt pretty bad. Um, I have already directly sent my condolences to him, but I just wanted to put out this video letting you guys know that yes, I did hear about it. My condolences are already out to him and Kara, his life mate, and all my best to a speedy recovery. He is doing better. I've seen that both with the recent videos that he's put out as well as my direct correspondence with him. He is doing better, and I'm definitely glad to see that. And I really hope, that real soon we'll be able to, see him more in action again. Because he did not need that at all. So, so here's hoping for better days for them. Well, let me get on with the video, which may seem a bit of a strange topic for me to bring up because it seems to be a bit more of a kind of, I don't know, sort of trendy topic, but I'm not really trying to make this a trendy topic. This is actually something that's been in my mind every now and then. It's just never really occurred to me to make a video on it until recently. And it's on Jackie Chan, and in particular his brand of action or a specific aspect of the way he does fights on film. A friend of mine, the man Chaos, had recently linked me a video, which I'm going to put below, on why it's basically on Jackie Chan's style of action scenes and why they seem so good and Western ones seem to fall flat. And the video brings up some really good points, but one thing that they bring up in particular is the ability of him to be able to just take anything in a room and use it as a weapon. It's something that is considered as a brand of his comedy because it's really funny for people to be able to see him pick up a fish, or a rolled up newspaper or a ladder or a refrigerator door or sneaker or something and be able to use it as a weapon. It's funny to people, but it also shows the amount of talent the guy has to be able to just pick up anything and just wipe the floor with whatever, whoever is trying to attack him in the room. And it is an aspect of why his fight scenes look so good. But it isn't just that. It's not just a particular feature of his brand of action and comedy. It is actually an aspect of his Chinese martial arts training. It is an actual aspect of Chinese martial arts. And the aspect I'm talking about is adaptability. What you are seeing on film is a certain aspect of Chinese martial arts honed by someone who really knows what the hell they're doing. And he's turned it into a comedic aspect and something that makes his fight scenes more exciting. When I was a bit younger, and every now and then these conversations happen among me and a few friends of mine who are into Chinese martial arts films, we talk about our favorite, who's the best guy on screen at this time. People have their favorites. You got your Bruce Lee lovers. You got your, Chuck Norris lovers. Why? I don't know. You got your, Jet Li, Donnie Yen. I can't believe I'm forgetting this dude's name. Tony Jaa. That's it. Tony Jaa is another good one. Recently, those Salat guys who have been showing up, they did The Raid and The Raid 2. Great movies. And everybody has a particular aspect that they put on screen, based on their own talent in martial arts. They bring that talent out in a specific way on screen. And everyone keeps talking about who's their best, their favorite one, who's the best guy. And I never really liked picking my best. I always just picked out my favorites, and it would always be in a list because each person had something different. If you guys are interested in what I think about each famous action person, I could probably do that in another video or better yet, a live Q&A. But we're going to focus on Jackie. And the main thing is his talent was always not just on comedy, but on adaptability and weapons. People focus, when they talk about Jackie, they instantly think about his drunken fist or his animal forms. And those are awesome, obviously. But I've always felt that his best talent was weapons. Especially if you look at his older films. If you look when he's using it as a spear or dao saber in his hand, he rocks with those. He is damn good with weapons. fighting fans, double crutches or tonfa, whatever he's gotten his hands on, he can really rock with those weapons. And nowadays, he isn't fighting with, your conventional weapons anymore. Now he's fighting with ladders. Now he's fighting with like pool cues. And people are like, whoa, he's beating the living crap out of that guy with a slipper. And they laugh, not realizing that it's coming from his weapons training. And the fact that he is able to adapt his weapons techniques to just any everyday object, it's amazing. But it's also an aspect of Chinese martial arts. It's not too surprising for anybody who knows what Chinese martial arts is supposed to do to then see somebody with Jackie's talents being able to rock the floor and beat the living crap out of somebody with a mop. It's like, yeah, a mop or a spear and a staff. You can adapt spear and staff techniques to a mop, more or less. Just gotta adapt, change it a little bit, and it'll still work. It's a long freaking stick. Adaptability. This goes a little bit back to Bruce Lee's criticism on Chinese martial arts, and in fact, a lot of people's criticisms on traditional martial arts in general, that traditional martial artists are focused too much on set routines. That, they're taught their basics, hopefully, and then after that, they're taught forms, sequences. And then if the teacher is worth, their wealth and salt, they'll then hopefully tell them, okay, this form is teaching you that when this happens, you respond this way, you punch this way, you throw the guy this way, and the form's teaching you to do this. Okay, that's all valid. Problem is, many people get stuck in that mode, and the way it was taught, even like it's from his time, even up until recently now, it's more or less taught that this is how you're going to respond to X situation. That this is X situation. This is Y response. This is what you do this way, and you've done it right. And so many people are stuck on that mode that they don't adapt. So if they're put into a situation where that technique isn't going to work exactly the way that they've been practicing it, and they haven't yet figured out that martial arts training is more about weaponizing your movement rather than adding weapons to your movement, then you are going to be in trouble because you're not going to be able to respond to that situation the right way. You're going to try to do it the way you were taught, and you're busted. Now, Bruce talked about that all the time. He's like, you're caught in set routines. That's not how real life. You have to adapt. You have to flow like water. But those are the whole thing about being able to adapt and to flow like water and all that, conform with your opponent, change with the situation. Those are ancient Chinese martial arts maxims. It's nothing new. In fact, with the more modern Chinese martial arts, and I'm using the term modern in a very relative term. When I mean modern, I'm talking about like late 1800s. Like when Baguazhang or Tai Chi Chuan or Xingyi was being further developed, and then later on the philosophers got their hands on it and started turning it into something other than what it originally was. They were talking a lot about change, being able to adapt with the situation, being able to change like nature changes all the time, being able to conform with your opponent. Tai Chi talks about being able to be the yin to your opponent's yang or the yang to your opponent's yin. These are just fancy ways of saying adapt to the situation and your foe. Change up. Don't stick with a static form. The highest level of Chinese martial arts, you just do what the situation demands, which is just adaptability. And the same thing goes for weapons use, which goes back to Jackie Chan. Anybody who's thinking that what I'm saying is making no sense, like, Chinese martial arts isn't about adaptability, do yourselves a favor, and, you're on the internet right now, obviously. Just go online and just take a cursory look at Chinese martial arts weapons. Just look at what they fought with. And you're going to find the usual, typical martial arts type weapons. Martial arts is warfare arts, so typical war weapons were used. You got your swords, you got your sabers, you got your spears, you got your staves, you got your shields, you got your big maces, you got all types of typical battlefield stuff. And you'll get some of the really weird stuff like the fist on a stick with the spike in it. That was real. I don't know. You got, your double-ended spears, your tridents, your halberds. But then you got your rakes. You got your flails. You got your triple section, staves. And then you got rulers. You got chopsticks. You got pens. Fighting fans. I think I said rulers before. Freaking little needles. Benches. There is a mark. Okay, I know some of you guys who watch Jackie Chan's films sooner or later, especially his older ones, have seen fights where they're in a tea house or a restaurant or something, and he's fighting with benches. And you're like, oh my god, that's cool. He's spinning the benches around and doing all this crazy stuff. There actually is a kung fu bench in Chinese martial arts. It's a southern form. Yeah. And it's not that far fetched if you think about it. I mean, think of your stereotypical bar fight. And I say stereotypical because it's not like they happen all the time. But, think of your, stereotypical seedy bar fight breaks out. What do people do? They grab whatever's on hand. So they're going to grab their bottles and break them and do stuff with them. They're going to throw plates or ashtrays. They're going to pick up pool cues that they're lying around. They're going to pick up the bar stools. Chinese martial arts, same thing, especially if you're dealing with a bunch of rowdy thugs who happen to know something about fighting, and then the wrong guy happens to come around the restaurant. You don't have your weapon near you for whatever reason. What are you going to do? Well, the chopsticks are right there. The bench I'm sitting on is nice and big and it's a club, and you're going to adapt your fighting technique to whatever you're holding. So whatever your fist forms are, or whatever your weapon forms are, you're going to adapt what you know with other objects to the object that you're holding in your hand. Adaptability. It's a kung fu trait. It's a Chinese martial arts trait. If you're at a higher level, it's what you're good at. It's what you do. It's what you're supposed to do. In fact, it's that adaptability that has kind of helped to modernize how weapons are taught in Chinese martial arts. And again, when I'm saying modern, I mean relatively. I'm talking like when they were trying to streamline Chinese martial arts training back in the early 1900s. They picked certain weapons to teach students first. And then were like, now that you know this weapon, you can move on to this group of weapons because you already know the basics for them. Like, for instance, if you were good with the saber, the basic saber, the oxtail saber. Well, now there's a whole bunch of other sabers that you can easily move to because the basics are more or less the same. But they also say that certain short weapons, Sifu Ted Mancuso pointed this out. If you're good with the saber, that means you're good with a short stick. You can use the same type of techniques. You're good with the staff, you're going to be good with spears and other stuff. Well, the spear is a different weapon, so they put it in a different category, but the motions are more or less there. You get a certain group of weapons you can use. Like, if you're good with a long weapon, then if you happen to be caught somewhere and there happens to be a branch of a tree nearby that's long enough, you just pick that up. I'm pretty sure it's not that much of a stretch of imagination for you guys if you know how to use a staff in whatever martial arts you know how to use, and something goes wrong and there's a broom nearby, it's more or less what you're going to be able to adapt with. It's all Jackie Chan's doing in his films, just at a higher level. And it all stems from Chinese martial arts adaptability. Being able to use what's on hand and changing with the environment. It's a typical trait, and he does it very well. It's that aspect of his movies which is actually showing just how good the man really is. It's a master at work. Which I guess I didn't really have to say because you guys probably figured it out. But everybody calls him a master, but I'm not too sure if anyone really understands why. It's not about the gymnastics. It's not about the stunts, though those are awesome. It's the adaptability. That little feature of his that some people think is funny is actually a key aspect to why he's so damn good. And any fighter worth their salt is that damn good. Modern combative people do this all the time, by the way. They're the ones who go into a room and are like, okay, in case something goes wrong, they're looking around the room, let's see, what do I have? There's that butter knife over there. There's that wine corkscrew over there, I could use that. There's this, like, I could break that glass and use a shard. They're thinking about adaptability too with everyday objects around the room. They have to. Modern day stuff, they do that too, which goes to show that it's a trait with any good fighter. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to bring up. I got more videos that I desperately need to get out. Hopefully I'll have the time to do it. So, catch you guys later. Oh, yeah, and by the way, yes, I know this hat is floppy as hell. New one, gotta put an iron to it. What are you gonna do?